Sam pulled me off my feet on an icy curb last winter. 110 pounds of golden retriever. And I hit the ground hard. Mostly I was embarrassed, but I was also bruised. And I had pretty much done guessing about equipment. I had already looked at head collars and I dismissed them. Muzzle, that was my first thought. And that's wrong. And I'll explain why in a minute. But here's something else about the gentle leader that no one told me before I bought one. Something about how it works on a big dog. And something about what happens when you do the introduction wrong. By the end of this, I want to show you two things. What the introduction looks like for a dog who's never worn one, and what that same dog looks like after months of use. That second part is what most videos skip. The difference tells you everything. The gentle leader is a head collar. Two loops. One wraps around the back at the base of the neck, high behind the ears, and the other goes around the nose. Sam can pant with this on. He can eat treats. He can bark. His jaw has full range of motion. The nose loop isn't there to restrict anything. It's there to give you steering. Think about how you steer a horse. You don't pull it from the back. You lead from the front. This is the same logic. Control from the point under the chin. Gentle, not forceful. The other thing it does, and this surprised me even though it probably shouldn't have, is calming. The collar sits high on the back of the skull, which kind of mimics the way a mother dog grips a puppy, okay? I actually first used these back in, would be 1987, my first border collie. And a friend convinced me to try it after I had that same muzzle reaction you're probably having right now. And it worked on my first 3 dogs. Then I spent 11 years training border collies to herd sheep, competing at trials all over the country. And in that world, you don't need a collar. The sheep do all the work. So head collars slipped off my radar until Sam. 110 pounds, easily double the size of any border collie I ever worked with. And that calming effect, I've put this on Sam when he was wound up, and I've watched him settle within about 30 seconds. Not always, but often enough that I take it very seriously. Before I show you how to put this on, I'm going to use Sam to demonstrate it even though he already knows it, because the technique is the same either way. But before that, I want to flag something. There is a fitting mistake that I see constantly. It seems minor, it isn't. A collar that's fitted wrong doesn't sit where it needs to sit. And when that happens, you lose most of that calming effect. The tool underperforms and you don't know why. I'll show you exactly what that looks like in a few minutes. Watch Sam's body language when I pick up the head collar. He's not backing away. He's not shaking his head. That took time to build. I want to show you what the introduction looks like so you can get your dog to the same place. The gentle leader, when you pull it out of the package, it looks like a jumbled mess. Here's the easiest way to hold it. Make a capital T. The crossbar is the head collar part that goes around their neck. The stem that's pointing down, that's the nose loop, okay? That's the part that goes on first. Here's how you do the introduction for a dog who's never worn one. Don't just push it on their face. That's the fastest way to create a dog who hates this thing. Take a treat, put your hand through the nose loop, okay? Treat in your hand, and let your dog sniff the treat. Move your hand slowly towards the nose. The moment the loop touches their nose, just say yes, give the treat, and take it away again. So we're gonna do that 2, 3, 4 times. You're building association. Nose loop plus nose equals treat. That's the whole deal. Once your dog isn't pulling back, they're actually moving toward the loop, you can move forward. Take a treat, hand through the loop again, and this time, while they're eating, slide that nose loop over and bring the head collar around the back of the skull. Buckle it while they're chewing, okay? With Sam, this goes fast now because he knows what it means. With a new dog, this may take 2 or 3 short sessions, and that's fine. I'm impatient. I know that about myself, but rushing this step may cost you weeks on the back end for some dogs, so just take your time. The fitting mistake I mentioned. The head collar, the part that wraps around the back of the skull, needs to be snug, not tight, snug. You should be able to get a finger or two underneath, but not your whole hand, okay? I see dogs all the time where it's sitting loose and low. When that happens, the collar doesn't grip the base of the skull the way it's supposed to, so you lose the calming effect. The direction control is weaker. The whole tool underperforms. And then, like, it's natural, we blame the tool when the problem is actually the fit. Watch where this sits on Sam. Up high, right at the base of the skull, not drooping down towards mid-neck. That placement is doing something, okay? Two things to check. Snug enough that only 1 or 2 fingers fit underneath. When the leash is slack, that nose loop and the clip should hang straight down, not angled, not pulling. If the clip is angled, you've got tension on the nose when there shouldn't be. And I'll come back to why that matters in a minute. So snug, high, 2 fingers max, that's your check. The other thing people miss is how to actually use the leash with this. The gentle leader gives you great control. It also makes it very easy to overcorrect. If you're applying constant pressure on the nose loop, never releasing, you're doing 2 things. You're giving your dog no information because pressure that never goes away means nothing. And you're going to end up with a dog who hates wearing it. So the rule, pressure on to redirect, pressure off immediately when the dog complies. Watch the leash clip. When Sam is walking with me, that clip hangs straight down. Loose leash, that's the goal. If he drifts or starts to pull, I add a little directional pressure from the nose, like this, and the moment he turns back towards me, that pressure comes completely off. So loose, brief redirect, back to loose. This is different from how a lot of people use a flat collar where the leash is half taut most of the time and you stop noticing. With the gentle leader, you have to be deliberate about the release. The release is the reward. That matters more than you might think. Earlier I said there's an exit strategy built into the gentle leader. Here it is. This is not a permanent piece of equipment. I know that's hard to believe when you're currently being dragged down the sidewalk, but the goal is always to build toward not needing it. The gentle leader actually gives you a structured way to do that. So stage 1, full use. Nose loop on, head collar high and snug. This is for the hard days. New environment, high distraction, a dog who woke up, wound up. Stage 2, the nose loop comes off. Just slide it off the nose. It's loose. The head collar is still on. It's still sitting high. And what you've got is a high collar. Not a loose flat collar sitting down around the mid-neck, but a high collar positioning right at the base of the skull with the leash clipped directly to it. That still gives you meaningful control. Just less than the full setup, but the sensation is still there. Stage 3, your flat collar. Once the walking behavior is solid enough. The key here is stages. The gentle leader is not a set it and forget it tool, and I want to be clear about that. If you put it on and never think about what comes next, you'll end up with a dog who can only walk properly when it's wearing the gentle leader, and that's not the goal. The goal is a dog who understands what you want and eventually doesn't need the reminder on their face about how to do that. So here's what I actually think about the gentle leader after using it with the 110-pound golden retriever. It works. Not because it forces anything. There's no force happening here. It works because it gives you clear, calm communication through the nose, and it buys you the calm you need to actually do the training. Is it for every dog? No. Some dogs resist head collars and never really settle into them. About less than 5%, but it happens. If your dog is rubbing their face on the ground or scratching their face, give them some time, pull up on the leash, lure them with treats, but if they keep doing it, you may need a different tool. Is the introduction part non-negotiable? Yes, it's non-negotiable. Treat, slow, positive, skip, and you might create a dog that fights this thing every time you reach for it. And that fitting check, snug, 2 fingers underneath, super important. Anyone who tells you these head collars are cruel probably hasn't walked a dog this big, you know, in the early morning when it's slippery. And these work, not eventually, immediately. And that really matters. First walk. If you want to see how the gentle leader fits into a larger pulling solution, I've got a video on that, links somewhere here. Drop the question you're sitting with in the comments. I read everyone, I respond to everyone, okay? I'm John with Thoughtful Paws. This is Sam. Thank you for watching.